If you are listening to this podcast, it means you are searching for someone who understands you, someone who gets you. You are yearning to be understood and to belong. Welcome to the Someone Gets Me podcast, where we help smart, talented, and sensitive people navigate an often insensitive world. Let's welcome your host, ambassador, author, speaker, and mentor, Diane Allen. Diane has the experience and knowledge to educate and inspire, as she has been there and understands your unique intensities and their challenges.
Welcome, friends. It's Diane with Someone Gets Me, and today I have an amazing interview for you. I know the show's had a lot of interviews lately, and it's because I have some of the most amazing people in my world. And today we're going to talk to my friend, Esther Lemmens. She owns a company called Zesty Branding. Now, isn't that the coolest name ever? And she is over the big water from us. So she is in England and I'm in the United States. And so by the miracle of technology, we're able to know each other and hang out on this great conversation with you. So you're going to be so blessed by her rich and amazing view of the world. Esther is somebody who loves visual arts and branding and putting neat things together. If you could see the background of her home right now, you would go, oh my God, she's like an interior designer, cool artist chick. She also loves books and words and creative ideas. And she is an ethical person that lives with integrity and authenticity. You'll only find her engaging things that further humans, whether it's organic food or thinking in holistic ways, or doing those things that remind us that life is meant to be joyful and full of life. So it's perfect. It's perfect that the name of her company is Zesty Branding because it goes with her so well. She has created this amazing company for the last 20 years, and she does all kinds of things to help people visually brand what they do. She can do graphic designing. She's an artwork person. She deals with print. She helps anyone who wants to bring their visual message more alive so that they can connect with the right people. So we are so blessed she took time out of her busy day to be with us today so that we can learn from her and be inspired by her life, her story, and her work. So welcome to the show, Esther.
Hi, Diane. It's so good to be here. I love that you're having me on the show. It's awesome.
Yes, I think it's so exciting because I've been watching your work for a while and your amazing energy. And whenever you're present in any of the activities that I'm doing, I'm always happy because you always bring a different way of seeing things or a light, happier way. Even if the conversation's already light and happy, there's always that little extra oomph that comes through you. And so I'm so excited you said yes.
That's lovely. Yay.
So let's start off a little bit about Esther. Like, tell the audience, tell myself a little bit about where you are, who you are, kind of what gets you up in the morning and gets you going.
Well, I am originally Dutch and I moved to the UK in 1999, and that's where I've been living and working ever since. And I've had several jobs, worked in several agencies, but I love doing my own thing and being my own boss. I think it's just part of my spirit, and I don't like the restriction of working for other people. So I have embraced this self-employment journey, as it were, although it's not always, the easiest path to go on. But I've found it, I'm finding my feet in it, and I think it's an ongoing journey, but I am really enjoying it. And I think especially when you are on your own path with business, if you have your own business or run your own business, the business growth and the personal growth, it goes hand in hand. So you will run into lots of mind stuff that comes up and things you just have to clear. And, it can be tricky, but it's such a worthwhile journey. I know it's not for everyone, but it's definitely for me. And I think no matter how difficult it gets or has been, I wouldn't ever go back. So,
you make a great point there too. And I don't think a lot of people think of it. And that is that your business cannot outgrow your personal development, that they do go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. And especially when you're running a small business or you're an entrepreneur and like you're the business, mm-hmm. that if we're not willing to grow personally, then our businesses will just top out at wherever
Absolutely.
we were.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great point right out of the gate, because I think about that a lot, and I say it to people I work with, and sometimes they look at me like, what? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It grows with your own personal evolution,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think it's not necessarily, I think you need maybe like the entrepreneurial spirit. Yes, you do. But a lot of stuff can be learned. And I think people shouldn't be put off by thinking, oh, but I don't know this and I don't have that skill and I don't like doing that. And, there are things you learn, and you get to know yourself most of all. And there are things that you're not going to be good at. So you outsource them, you get other people to help you with it. That's all part of running, a business and making good decisions and everything like that. If you hear anything, by the way, I'm having a cup of tea. Everything is better with tea. So that is what I have all the time.
Everything is better with tea, and her cup says goddess on it.
It does.
It's genius. And I'm drinking my tea as well because I love tea. And so it's perfect. See, we're having tea together.
Love it.
That's amazing. Do you ever run into challenges within yourself with procrastinating? Like, is there anything that sometimes you need to be doing, but you don't?
Absolutely. And not so much recently, I must admit. So I've been on this journey the self-employed journey, I really properly started early 2014. I did feel like I was just learning everything I could about running your own business, about marketing, because I think we all have our skills. For me, that's design and branding and things like that. But that doesn't necessarily mean you can run a business, right? So you have to learn about bookkeeping and marketing and advertising yourself, which can be a real obstacle, especially for people like myself who are introverts. We kind of want to just sort of not stay in the shadows as such, but and I don't want to sort of contribute to the cliche of them. But yeah, being out there and saying, hey, this is me, that doesn't come naturally to me. So I feel like I need to do that in a way that feels authentic and that doesn't feel like shouty or braggy or what most marketing advice tells you to do, to be honest. It's good to see things changing, and there's more focus out there now on being more authentic and, sort of quietly being out there rather than shouting about it. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but there are different ways of doing it, obviously. Yeah. So what was the question? I went off on one there.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. But what I'm wondering about is procrastination. Because yes, introverts and visionary people and intelligent people are great at procrastinating.
Yes, I would say I'm the queen of procrastination, or I was anyway. But what I think got me through that is I think I was pushing myself too hard and I was trying to do too much and having really high expectations of myself. And I was thinking, if I don't do this, if I don't aim for that, then I'm a failure. So what really helped me let go of that was to just accept where I am and accept the steps I'm making. And if they're not the steps I want to be making, or it doesn't go as quickly as I want it to go, which was the major thing, I just, I've been doing this for so many years, I should be over here right now, that kind of self-talk. And I think as soon as I accepted there's nowhere I should be, it's my journey, my individual journey. And this is how I'm doing it. And it's fine. It is absolutely fine. Where I am is fine. Just taking it a step at a time. I've got all these plans and I still do it. I think, oh yeah, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And then I look back on the month and I haven't accomplished any of it. But I have a different approach to it now. I'm thinking, okay, other things obviously took priority and that's fine too. So I think self-acceptance has been a really beneficial thing to do. And also the working on the self-worth, a lot of mindset work, because if you have the wrong mindset or some blockages there, no amount of action is going to make any difference. It's just going to feel like a real struggle and it's going to make you want to give up. So I think it's then time. I think if you've been trying to do something for a long time and you're not making any progress or you keep feeling stuck, I think it's time to stop doing and start looking inside and think, okay, what is going on here? Is there anything going on that is getting in my way? And often it's just limiting beliefs, stuff we've grown up with, messages from parents and teachers and all that kind of stuff, which sounds a bit cliche as well. But it's true, though. It's so true.
Well, so true. We carry the energies, I call it intergenerational transmission, that until we're willing to go within and look and clear it out, whatever that means for each thing or each person, then it does hold us back, I think. And we can feel like we're in that hamster wheel going over and over and over and never getting anywhere fast, I say, because we're carrying something that's not meant for us. And we take it on, and we don't, before we're aware to not take it on. So what you just said was genius. And I think that a lot of people, whether they're entrepreneurs or not, will find themselves kind of hitting a wall in their life, their personal life or their career or whatever, when they're not paying attention to what's going on the inside. They're always focused outside of themselves, So
yeah. It just takes you just have to look in the mirror and actually just accept what you see, really, and not think you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, you're not, all that. Just think it's all good. It's okay. You're okay. Start with that. Start simple. Yes. And I think then you start recognizing, I find life is it's about self-discovery and self-creation. And I can visualize that in a sort of a yin yang kind of format almost. And it's just about getting to know yourself. You have a vision of who you want to be, but you also need to get to know yourself and what your strengths are, what your skills are, what makes you tick, what your preferences are. And it could be quite surprising. You might end up in a situation where you think, well, I wouldn't have thought that would happen a year ago, or, things like that. And I think I got to know one of my patterns that I was doing when I was in that procrastination cycle, which was I got really excited about an idea. And then I almost, I'll buy the domain name pretty much. That's what I do. And then I was like, yay. And I just got really, really into it. And then slowly I would get a little bit discouraged. That would fizzle out, that momentum, that would fizzle out a bit. And then I'd get discouraged and frustrated. And then I would just get on to another idea to kind of pull myself out of that. I would go on to a new idea to get excited about. But that was a cycle I was in, from excitement to disappointment to excitement again about something else. But I wasn't actually accomplishing anything. I felt like I was in these starting blocks of a race. And I just kept going from one position to the next position, but I never actually started running. Or even walking. It just one step at a time is enough, right? But I never really got to do that. I think it's to do with being in your comfort zone and not quite knowing what to do and trying to figure it all out. But even that's okay. You're obviously not ready, or I sort of realized I'm either not ready, or it's not the right thing, or it's not the right time. And all of that is fine too. Like,
okay. And so not being ready and all the thinking about it can lead to some kind of analysis paralysis, overthinking that will feed into procrastination.
Yeah.
Did you have any issues with overthinking when
Absolutely.
you were going through that?
It's one of my skills, I would say. Yeah. I do tend to overthink stuff. For me, I feel like maybe everyone does that, but probably not. But it's just because I do it. I think everyone does it. But it's kind of a cycle that you kind of have to break as well. And I find what I find helpful is I've been doing quite a lot of meditation, which is lovely. So I start my day with that and some Qigong practices and some Reiki and all that stuff. And I've now dedicated time in the morning to start my day off on the right foot, with that centering myself, calming. And that really does help, because I do feel the difference when I don't do it. I think my brain tends to be a bit more scatty and also productivity things. I had to kind of realize what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and really check in with myself and how I was feeling when I was doing certain things. And also at the end of a day, like, do I feel satisfied? Do I feel a sense of accomplishment? And if not, why not? And I noticed that I need quite a structured day, and I've started planning things into my calendar, even because I have tasks that I have in a checklist in Evernote. And in Evernote, you can make little tick boxes, which I really like. So when I've done something, I can tick it off. But that's a bit too random still, like just having a list of stuff, because I end up going through it thinking, oh yeah, I'll do this next and that, and maybe later. It's too random still. So I found that planning things into my calendar has been really good. So I don't overthink it. I just know it's there and I do it. So that helps me with the overthinking.
So let me ask a question. So what you're saying is, when you put it in your calendar, I make a list so I can tick it all off too. So that's cute.
Yeah. And it's double. Yeah. So there's the list as well. And there's also the calendar.
So when you have it in the calendar and And I like the idea of putting it in the calendar so you don't have to think about it again. You just know when it shows up, that's when I do it. Was it difficult or easy for you to develop the discipline to actually do it when it showed up in the calendar? Or was that just a natural thing for you? If it's in the calendar, I do it. Or did you have to work on doing it when it showed up?
Well, I'm still sort of working on it, to be honest. And I felt like that was something that would be beneficial for me for a while, but it took a while, even after I thought it. It's just a thought that came in my head. And I think then it starts, I know that I have to action something when stuff keeps coming into my head on a repeated basis, like more and more and more. And that's when I know it needs my attention. So, and then I just started doing it. But the thing is, I was also looking at people like our coach George, who has got like his calendar just looks, it's amazing, isn't it? It's all blocked off. It's all planned in. It's structured. It's spot on. And I think I kind of measured my own calendar against that. And I think I was also making up reasons why I couldn't do that, because I was like, oh, my contracting work is too random and I can't plan for this in advance. And I don't know that long enough in advance. So how am I going to do that? And in the end, I just thought, I don't need to have a complete calendar for every week for the next year. How about just a week? Let's start with a week and block some things in. And even sometimes I go back to a day, like just today, I'm going to do this, that time, that time. And I just have to break it down. And as soon as I start feeling overwhelmed, the whole overwhelming thing tells me a lot as well. I just take a step back, or I step away from it completely. I go and have a break. I go out for a walk or whatever I do. Yeah, so just break it down. Really breaking it down has helped me a lot. And just doing one thing.
Oh, that's perfect. Yes, I think breaking it down helps with me as well. It's like sometimes I have these great visionary ideas and, okay, I'll do this. And then on top of it, I'm a time optimist. So I think it should take about 5 minutes when it's about 3 hours or whatever it is. Like It's never what I think it is. And so I adopted the phrase, it's never what you think it's going to be. It's always better.
I love it.
To stop myself from, beating myself up for that same thing. Like, oh, I should have this done already. What do you mean? And it's not that at all. It's just things don't take the time I think they take. So it's always different, sometimes less, sometimes more. So now I just look at it and laugh and go, oh, okay, here we are again.
Exactly. I think that's the key though, not take it too seriously. Obviously, if there's stuff that really needs to be done, it kind of has to be done. But I think it's about filtering as well, because we might think there's all these important or urgent things on our calendar. But if you think about it, it probably really isn't all that important. And I think it's about recognizing it and categorizing it. I've seen Marie Forleo, I think, do that. So what is urgent versus what's important? Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure what she did with it, but she did make that distinction. And that seemed like, a really interesting thing to observe. And I think it's just about recognizing these things for yourself and not getting too caught up in what other people are doing and trying to literally do what they're doing. And I think in a way, we all kind of secretly want a bit of a magic pill when it comes to certain things, don't we? I mean, I know realistically it's not possible and we have to find our own way and our own journey, especially in business. But on some level, I think secretly, if I see something that I think, oh, wow, and it kind of sounds too good to be true, I'm still a little bit tempted and I still get a little bit like, oh, yes, I want to do that course, or I want to take that class, or I want to, and now I'm actually starting to really consider, is it going to help me right now? Or is it something that I could focus on maybe 3 months from now, or when I've got a certain part of my business more established? And then I just wait and focus on other stuff, because I can happily spend a whole day learning, doing courses, doing webinars, learning stuff. It's just, I love it. But in the end, if it's just distracting you from making progress in your business, then it's time to really reevaluate that, I think, and your priorities, like your own priorities.
That is genius. So you all rewind this and listen to that again, because that's genius advice. It really is. And it came out of Esther so naturally because it's her core. But for a lot of people, that's not natural to really pay attention to the pace and ask the right questions. And what you're hearing from her is that she's asking the right questions that are leading her down a road that is creating something that's more and more fulfilling every day. So, and that's genius. That's a genius advice, is to really pay attention to, is it something that's going to further my life? I know a lot of people I've worked with that have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on learning this and learning that and learning this, and they're in a paralysis state because they have filled their mind with all kinds of information and still haven't come off the blocks for the race, as you use that analogy. You know, they haven't even started any of it. And I think it takes going within and saying, all right, is it going to further whatever I'm doing, whether it's a personal development thing or my business or my relationships of some kind, you know, whether it's networking or whatever, is what I'm about to do going to get me where I say I want to go? You know, is it really going to get me there, or is it just a convenient distraction, or is it just being curious? You know, I think entrepreneurs and I think smart people, visionary people are naturally a tad more curious, if not a lot more curious than average people. Always asking questions, wanting to investigate things, checking things out. I think that's part of the character.
I think so too. Yeah.
Right. So then what happens is we end up getting so curious about things that we miss whatever it is we think we're doing. So that was really sage advice you just shared so naturally and perfectly. Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah, it was great. That all being said, what kinds of things do you do personally that help you manage your stress and just daily life? I really like that you just shared about having a morning routine that is meditative and energy flow wise. I think you said qigong and things, and having a dedicated, protected time is so important. And I think starting the day in a special way, like we're drinking our tea and we're doing these things that remind us that, okay, everything's all right. Are there any other tips you have or neat little things you do that help keep you going in a healthy way? I mean, obviously from reading your bio, you are very invested in the health and welfare of yourself and others. That it's just not talk. It comes from the inside out. So what other neat little hacks do you have? We know tea. What kind of tea do you drink? Maybe we could start there.
Green. I drink green tea. I love green tea.
Okay. Green tea. That's a really cool thing because it's got lots of antioxidants and it has a little caffeine. So it's just a nice, and I love the flavor of green tea. What are some other things that you personally do that help you keep going?
I cuddle cats on a regular basis. My partner and I have cats. We live separately. The cats all live at my partner's. We have, I think the current number is 7 or 8. It does vary. My partner lives in the woods and it's very open space. So sometimes they go walk about, sometimes they come back, sometimes they do not. So it's it's a bit random. But I love cats. Have taught me so much. A few years ago, there was a phase where quite a few of them either disappeared or died. And it was kind of the worst thing that I thought that could happen to me. And then it happened. So I had to deal with it. And then I thought, well, I think it took me a while to really let go of that and let go of the worry and the sort of anxiety around that. But I've gotten to a stage where I'm like, everyone and everything is on their own path and I have no control over that. So I think recognizing what you do and do not have control over has been a really sort of releasing exercise for me. So you don't get tense about stuff that you can't control. So that's been really good. And also something I'm still working on is setting healthy boundaries. So for my self-care routine, I'm learning to say, no, that time is not negotiable. I need that time. That time is blocked off. So if someone, because we, nowadays we can work with people in different time zones, don't we? So we could pretty much work at any time of the day. But if someone asks me to work or make an appointment during that time, I say, no, that I can't do that time because that is blocked off for me. And actually feeling good and solid in that, I think that is the sort of journey with learning boundaries. It's like being like, maybe I could, maybe, that kind of feeling. I think once you get to a stage where I'm like, nope, can't. It's solid. It's sure. There's no negotiation. There's not even any guilt. There's not even any weirdness. It's just simple. No, can't do that. So that's been a really, really good learning curve for me. And I think it's ongoing because there are some areas in which I set good boundaries and I maybe always have, and other areas in my life where they've been really fuzzy. And I thought, if I really want to build my business, I need to sort this out. I need to be firm and be strong in that and really know what I do and do not want to do. And it's also about knowing your energy in a day. You might have different appointments. You might think, okay, I can do 2 of these a day and that is it. But that thing, I could do that all day long. It's about knowing, it's just about knowing yourself. And yeah, that's the key, I feel. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. Boundaries are a very important thing. You're just reminding me of a client I just started seeing a couple of weeks ago. And I mentioned something about protected and dedicated self-care time and having the boundary around it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that confused look. And this guy had never heard of those words, never heard of boundaries, very successful, and just never was exposed to the idea that it's okay to dedicate and protect time that's for self-care or whatever it is. Just like if somebody wanted to schedule a time with me during this time, the answer would have been no, because you already had it. And that's a boundary. I'm not going to go, and then try to move things. No, I'm committed. And I think people respect us more when our boundaries are clear and we stand in our authority.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because they know that we know who we are and what we're about. So I think that it comes across as an asset. So I had to really do a lot of explaining to him that having those boundaries was an asset. That you don't have to be the slave to everybody else's wants and needs from time zones and sense of urgency and things, because he was burning himself out with the very job he loved, because he was just giving and 24 hours a day all the time and hooked to his phone and became so frenetic versus going, this is what I do and this is when I'm available, and then deciding if you want to alter that or not, you can, but at least having a structure. And so, I think that that's a really good point to bring up, is to know, who you are and what you're good at. And like, I know some things I don't do in the middle of the afternoon because my brain doesn't function really well then. Like, I do more relaxation things or things that don't take a lot of great time. My creativity is early in the morning. And for me, it's early here, which is perfect. Like, this was the perfect time that you picked. And that's why I leave open for my podcast interviews the time I'm most creative and more mentally alive. I block out everything else so that I do other things during those times, so that when I'm engaging with somebody and I'm meeting the needs of all you guys who are the great listeners and everything, I am at my best. And I know when my best is because I've paid attention to it over the years. And so
that's awesome. Yeah. You obviously know yourself well enough to work that way. That's great.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's a great point that you bring up about the boundaries and protecting your time. It's okay. It's okay to say not yet, or no, or this other time would be better, or something, instead of thinking if you say no, you're going to lose the person, lose the customer or lose out somehow. And I think that fear is what keeps people with the squishy boundaries. And then that leads to burnout and upset.
Totally. And I think it can be really challenging, especially if you're in a position or a financial position where you think, I really need the money. But even then, I think it's even more important to have good boundaries, because working with someone for the sake of you need the money, but you maybe know they're not a good fit, that never works out well. I mean, for me, and I know, I think that's also a part of getting to know yourself. You get to know your instincts, and maybe you get a gut feeling about people, or just a certain time, or doing a certain action, anything like that. And if your gut feeling says, don't go there, and you do it anyway, I think you get to know, like, oh, I regretted that. I should have learned, I should have listened to my gut feeling. Yeah, I think that's really important as well. So, and that's to do with boundaries as well, but also about really trusting that, okay, I said no to this and it's fine. I know I need the money, but I need to say no to that because it's not right. And I think that can be quite challenging as well. And that's where you have to really learn to trust your own gut.
And that's also where the authenticity you spoke about earlier matters, is being your authentic self and knowing enough to say, it's just not the right thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what kinds of things do you like to do for fun?
Good question. I've been I really enjoy, at the moment, I'm having a phase of I love being at home and reading. I like going out for walks as well. I love going to my favorite sort of coffee house for a cup of tea and maybe a cake. I love going out for ice cream. I love reading books. Like I say, I love spending time in nature and with cats, especially. As far as activities, I'm not that active at the moment, although like the Qigong is like a gentle activity, which suits me a lot better. But that said, I also love salsa dancing, which I haven't done consistently for a while, but I do love it.
Sweet. Everything from hugging cats to salsa dancing to Qigong. I love it. And ice cream, of course. It's
Ice
its own,
cream rules.
ice cream is its own food group. I've
It
told
is.
people.
Yeah, and sorbets are one of your 5 a day. That's what I
Yeah.
tell myself anyway.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So see, some things are universal, you guys. That's
Yeah.
just the way it is, right? So when you're going out to dinner, what's your favorite place to go? What's your favorite kind of food to eat?
Oh, I should have said that. I love going out for dinner. I love good food. There are so many nice places here in Norwich. Even there's lots of good restaurants. I really like Japanese food. I discovered it some years ago after I had no idea what sushi was. Once I found out, I was surprised because it wasn't at all what I thought it was, and I absolutely love it. I also really like Mexican food. Love Mexican food. Italian is another favorite. I just love food, really, and I love to try things and try different things. Spanish as well. Went to London to a Spanish restaurant a few days ago. That was amazing. And I love cocktails as well, but I have to go easy on those because if I have too many of them, that doesn't end well. I love them though, especially the fruity ones. Yeah.
So that's interesting because you just named all these great creative kinds of cuisine and you're a creative genius. And so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So where did the name Zesty branding come from? How did you think of that? I love that name. And so I'm like, I have to know where she came up with that.
Well, years ago, I was brainstorming about a business name or like a brand name as such. And I was just going through, because of my last name, Lemmens, it's not quite spelt like the fruit, but still I thought, oh, that's something I could use. So I was kind of almost going through the dictionary or through the thesaurus or something like that. And I found all these things to do with citrus fruit and lemons and all that kind of stuff. And when I came to the word zest, I was like, that's it. That is perfect because of the kind of double, triple, whatever meaning of it. It's got so many nuances, that word. And I just thought that is a perfect fit. That it became my brand. I mean, I don't know how long ago that was. That is quite a while ago now. That's years ago. And I started off with Zesty Design, which is kind of my local business. And Zesty Branding is a sort of not a relaunch as such, but yeah, a separate sort of branch. And then I get all these little projects in my head. I would consider myself multi-passionate, so I get ideas for things. So I call it, the good thing about Zesty is you can put it in front of anything. So that's what I do. Yeah, I also love health and well-being. So they're all sort of projects that are not really businesses. They're just things I'm sort of playing with. But I do own some domain names. I know I own quite a few Zesty domain names.
So if you hear the word Zesty in front of anything, think of Esther because it probably is her.
It might very well be me. Yes.
That's really, really fun. I love it. And I love that you just called yourself multi-passionate. It's great.
Oh,
that's
yeah. I totally am. And I think that's part of what not confused me as such, but that's part of what I almost thought a problem was, because I thought I can't focus on one thing. If I can't focus on one thing, how am I going to build this? How am I going to do that? How am I going to complete anything? But I just have to accept that that is my nature. And I also allow plenty of time just for playing, for expanding on ideas and researching stuff, because that's part of what makes me happy. And I think if I try and force myself not to do that, that doesn't work, because then I'm going against my own nature. So yeah, I don't get things done as quickly as I would like to, or as quickly as other people, but that's okay. Again, that's okay.
You have your own flow about things, right?
Yeah.
And
that's an ongoing journey as well, really. It develops. Yeah.
Well, sure it is, because we change and develop and grow as we have different ideas and awarenesses and understandings too. So what's going to be true for you at this moment in your life, if I came back and talked to you a year from now, it would be a different story, simply because you will have grown and changed and evolved, just like all of us. I mean, that's Absolutely. How we all are, right? Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about what an average experience would be like if I have my business visions applied and I find you and you're going to help me with my brand. Mm-hmm. Give me a little flavor. Give us all like a little taste or a little flavor of the way you think when it comes to your business and how you work with people, because a lot of people, this audience with this podcast is in many countries. Mm-hmm. I think 12 or 13 already, and maybe more by now. And so there's a lot of interest from all over the world. So I like people to have like a little flavor. What is it like to engage with you? So give us a little flavor of what we would expect. How do you do it?
Well, I really love helping people sort of take their brand to the next level. And I think a lot of people may have invested in a logo, and they might have an idea about colors, but a lot of what I see, it's sort of not cohesive. It's very, it can be quite diluted. And I think especially as you build your business, you focus on, one thing, and then maybe you do your website, and then you start doing your social media. That's kind of the nature of the beast, isn't it? Because it's not like you can sit down and say, right, I am here, I am now going to do all these things, and you do them all in one go. That just doesn't happen, I find, for myself. So I assume for most people it really doesn't. So you do bits when you can. And some people do it themselves. I mean, there's some great online tools now like Canva that can be really helpful, especially for people who are visual as well. And some people, I think, have a good eye for it, and others not so much. So I think it's knowing when to reach out and get help in. So, but what I really love to do is look at what someone's got, and if it's working for them, and if not, why is it not working? So a lot of the issues that I see have to do with consistency. So they may not have their logo on everything. They may not use their colors consistently. They may use a variety of fonts. There's all the visual stuff. I are very visual, so I see things. I compare and I see what's not working for people. And then also what I love to do is, if people say to me, look, I want to take my business to the next level, I'm growing, I'm expanding, I'm going to do a membership, run a course, set up a website, do whatever it is, make a brochure, I then love to take their brand and apply it to all those elements. So, because what people want really is they want their logo to be recognizable and memorable for all the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons, obviously, because sometimes you don't want people to say, oh dear, that's really bad. Or for people to you need people to make the connection when they see anything that is your business, whether it's a webinar or a logo or a business card or a social media channel. Your personality will shine through in everything. And part of that is your visual brand. So wherever you can, make use of it, get it in there, work it in there, and really help people recognize it. So when they see even a little hint of something, or they see like a Facebook ad with a little picture, they recognize it as your brand, your business. So that's what I really like helping people with.
Oh, that's great. So you pay attention to the details and make sure that there's consistency. And with a lot of visionary people, or people who are thinking of lots of things at one time, sometimes it might look consistent to me, but it may not be consistent to the viewer, to the outside person. So it's a perfect kind of mirror of, is what I think it looks like to the public really what it looks like to the public?
Yeah. And it's really hard to do that for yourself, because I find it really difficult to do for my business because I'm right in the middle of it. So for certain things, I feel like I want to reach out and get other people's sort of advice and input as well.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think it's true about life that way too. We're right in the middle of it. We need outside that interdependence of other people who will be that mirror back to us with some kind of knowledge or education or passion to help us see whatever it is.
Yeah. Because if you're always in your own head, there's only so much you can get from that, really, because it's limited, isn't it? So it always takes other people, even someone saying, "Oh, have you read this book?" It's just all like it expands outwards, doesn't it? And you just meet the right people who just guide you to another person or a book or a situation or another business. So it's all so interconnected, and that's wonderful, really.
Yes, I love that too. It's like, as introverted as I am, because I'm like 100% introverted on Myers-Briggs, I love just engaging with different people and different ideas and exploring things. And I have a natural curiosity about things. And so that's fun.
Yeah.
And I'm introverted at the same time. So it's kind of an interesting little thing.
Yeah, I think it's about meaning, isn't it? I don't like small talk and just, blah. I don't care for that at all. I love talking to people on a meaningful level and just really getting to know them. Yeah, just have meaningful conversations. That I do like, and that I can do for a while, even though I still need my own time to, downtime really to re-energize myself. But still, yeah, that's something I have a lot more energy for than just having a chat because the person is there and you kind of, silences are awkward. I don't find silences awkward, to be fair. I'm happy to be with other people and not say a word. But I think it's more often than not, other people find it uncomfortable. So they feel the need to make conversation, don't they?
Oh, there's another truth, y'all. You might want to rewind that one too. That's genius. It's so true. People who are not comfortable with silence usually aren't comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah, I think there's a truth in that for sure. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So is there anything that I haven't asked you about or anything that you wanted to say to our wonderful listeners that before we close the show that's kind of on your heart or on your mind, that the message you want to get out or something that's important to you? Can be about anything.
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say learn to trust yourself, stick with it, go for it. Just do it.
That's perfect. Great. Well, Esther, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you so much.
Of course, it's morning for me. Yeah. And I really, really love the amazing nuggets of information and inspiration that you just shared. I can't wait for everybody else to hear this too. It's great. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I think it was also to do with the way you, I don't know, I think you sort of brought it out in me. So that it's a lovely co-creation.
Oh, wonderful. So everybody, thank you for listening to this episode, and look Esther up. I put her website and her Facebook information in the show notes along with her bio so you can learn more about her. Check her out. Let her know you heard about her on the show. And don't forget that you're the best idea in the whole world. So keep your face to the sun and let the shadows fall behind you, and always go for it. Until next time, have a great day.
Are you tired of searching for someone who understands you? Join our Facebook group, Someone Gets Me. In this group, you will be able to connect with others who are intense, sensitive, smart, talented, and wanting to be understood. Diane shares her insights and teachings, and you can connect with others. Join today.